Hello there, it's Pam. Welcome to another board game design video. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about prototyping, and I'll be giving some tips on how you can prototype games faster, cheaper, and just get it to the table as soon as possible. If this interests you, I hope you're subscribed and I hope you like this video. So I'm going to be talking about physical prototypes. I'm not going to be talking about digital prototypes. So some designers make their games in programs such as Tabletop Simulator, but today I'm talking about physical prototypes. And I'm really going to be focusing on how to make prototypes fast and cheap. I'm not going to be focusing on the great part. You've probably seen that triangle of good, fast, and cheap. You can't have all three, usually. So I'm going to be focusing on fast and cheap because prototypes do not need to be perfect and you should not be focusing on how they look. You really want to be focusing on how the game plays. So you just need to get something together as soon as possible, get it to the game, see how it plays. You want it to communicate the game clearly and be able to be played, but you don't need to worry too much about making it look perfect. This is something I talked about in my video about 5 mistakes that new board game designers make, which I will link right here, which is something that I did when I first started out as a board game designer, where I focused a lot on making the board look pretty and all the cards and focusing a lot of time and energy on how the prototype looks rather than how it plays. So in this video, I'm going to be giving you 10 tips for prototyping board games so you can get them to the table as soon as possible. The first thing I'm going to talk about is actually how I store my prototypes. So I always store my prototypes in clear plastic bags, and I like to write the name of the game and when I started working on it. This makes it easy to quickly grab the game and go, because I usually have more than one game on the go. So it makes it easy to quickly identify the game. You can see all the components inside, make sure you're not missing anything. But this also makes it easier when you archive games, because more often than not, the game might not turn out as well as you thought and you might just have to archive it. And I have all of my games in my games graveyard in my archive in clear plastic bags with when I started them and when I finished them. This I just left open-ended because I'm still working on it. And then I just toss them in my storage bin. But when you're working on more than one game, like here I have this other one, this just makes it very easy to store and grab and go your prototypes. Now, when you're actually making your prototypes, you want to make sure you are well stocked with a bunch of bits that you can easily access and throw a prototype together quickly. I got these bins from Walmart. They actually came with inserts. Like you can see, this one still has the inserts, little compartments that separate the little pieces. And this one has long inserts for longer pieces. And this one, I took the inserts out. So I got these from Walmart. They're Sterilite storage bins. I find they're really great. They fit 8.5 by 11 paper very nicely. And they can store a ton of stuff and a lot of different configurations with those little inserts. I don't know if Walmart still sells these, but I'm sure you can find something similar. So I'll just show you some of my things that I have here. So I have them separated by color, and this just makes it very easy to quickly grab player pieces or different sorts of things that I want color coded. This one has different poker chips and fake money. These are some really nice sort of metal feeling coins that I got from Pan Manufacturing. This is also where I usually keep all of my dice. I'm very low on dice right now. These are all I have at the moment. And then little stands to hold things up. This one has more small little colored tokens, but also a bunch of random paper chits in different shapes. So I have these like cards, circles, more cards, bigger cards. This one has all of my timers, all my sand timers. I have them in bags with their times on them, so it's easy to know which timers are which. This is an entire bin of cardboard, but these are good to have just thicker cardboard. You can make a ton of different things out of this. This is a miscellaneous bin. I have a bag of bags. I also have another bag of bags, dry erase markers, a ton of dice, but like more like D20s and D10s. A whole bag of Hot Wheels, and I've been trying to make a game using these forever. And I have a bag of these 2x2 inch tiles. They're from this matching game that you can get at Walmart, and I have made quite a few games using these tiles. You can buy this game and there's a ton of tiles that come in them. They're nice, thick cardboard 2x2. And then I just use full sheet blackout label paper, so you can't see through this at all, because I did use just normal label paper and you can still see the design through it. So I got this blackout kind. So I would just cover each tile with these and then just draw right on top of them. So another great way to get prototyping supplies is to use games that you already own, especially legacy games or escape games that you usually can only play once and then never play again. And it's a great way to reuse parts from a board game that you can't play again, but you can turn into a new game. Another cool thing you can do is buy cheap games at thrift stores, and you can scavenge those for different bits that you can use for your prototypes as well. One of my favorite tools that I use for prototypes is my laminator. You can use this to turn any piece of paper into a dry erase board. This is a dry erase board I made for this prototype here, and it was just a piece of cardstock that I put through the laminator, and then I just cut out, and I cut out a little bit extra on the side so that it stayed glued together. And now you can draw and erase. This is really cool because you can make a ton of different shapes. You can make them whatever size you want. This has been a super helpful tool that I use all the time, and I just really like using it too. So now we're focusing on making things as quickly and cheaply as possible. So whenever I make a board game, there's usually cards of some sort. And instead of using my nice cards that I have in one of these bins that are, you know, really nice, they're like rounded edges and all that, I just use index cards and a paper cutter. I got like 500 index cards for like $2 from the dollar store. I cut them to whatever size I want. I quickly write on them, there's my cards. Here's an example of a small deck I made. It's just one word on each card. You don't need a full thing with one word, so I just make it small. It communicates what it needs to communicate. It's super fast to do, and that's really all you need for a prototype. Obviously, as the games develop and you think that things are getting close to being a final product, then you can spend more time on making it look nice and all that. But when you're just starting out and you're still figuring it out, and the majority of the prototyping life, you can just make things as quickly and easily as possible. A quick way that you can make a board is by using a board from another game, ideally just a game from the thrift store or something, or a game you already own that you don't plan on ever playing again, not spending a ton of money on a brand new board game. A board that you don't mind covering over top. So get a board just from a thrift store game, and then use that blackout label paper that I showed earlier and just cover the whole thing, and then you can draw right on top of it. I'll also mention poster board, which you can get from the dollar store, super cheap as well to make boards. I made this trick-or-treating game on this side, and actually did a Courier City map on the other side. It's a nice, easy way to make boards pretty quickly. Now for this one, we're gonna get a little crafty. I'm going to show you how I like to make privacy screens out of old cardboard boxes. So I'm just going to cut off one of these little flaps here. Okay, there you have your little board. Now we're going to make little flaps so that it hides what you're doing. So you just want to use an X-Acto knife and cut down, but just not go all the way through so that it makes a little hinge. So there's a nice little hinge there. All right, so there you have a nice little privacy screen. So for those of you who also enjoy adding some color to your prototypes, I know it's a bit contradictory that I'm saying don't worry about making it look pretty, but I do enjoy adding a bit of color sometimes and just being aware of how much time I'm spending on it and not spending, you know, weeks and months on making something look pretty. It's okay to make it look a little pretty, but if you do add color, I would suggest using pencil crayons and pencils so that you can erase easily and you can adjust as you iterate your prototype and as it changes. Obviously, if you use markers, it's more permanent. You have to make a brand new prototype. This way, it's pretty easy to make changes on the fly. Now I'm going to show you a super cool trick that I learned. And I'm not name dropping here, I just want to give credit where credit is due. I believe it was Jonathan Gilmore showed me how to do this. But it's a super easy and quick way to make custom dice. So you're just going to cut out a strip approximately 1/2 inch wide of label paper. If you have an actual die that you want to use, that's fine. I just have this wooden block that I'm going to use. And you just put it on one face of it. You fold it over to cover the other face, and you fold it again, and then you fold it, can you see it all what I'm doing? And you fold it again, so you're wrapping the entire thing, and then you take it off, and then you're just going to cut after the third face. So this is covering one face of the die, the second face, and the third face. So you're gonna cut right there, right after the third one. So because you folded it over the fourth face, there should be a line there so you can easily cut. And then you just take the backing off, and now you just place it over top of the block. So now you have 3 of the faces covered. Now you do the same thing for the other 3. All right, so I put the other strip on the other 3, and there you go. Now you have a blank die that you can draw on and turn into whatever. So this is great when you want to make custom dice, if you want to make dice that are 1, 2, 3, or they have different icons, or there's more blanks than numbers, or whatever. You can do whatever you like. And just using these plain wooden blocks, these are super cheap from the dollar store. Obviously they have a bit more weight to real dice, but if you don't want to cover up real dice with paper, then you can just use wooden blocks. So those are just 10 of my tips. If you have more ideas for how to prototype games, especially how to prototype games fast and cheap, please leave them in the comments below. I'd really appreciate that. I'm always want to learn different ways and better ways to prototype, and I'm sure other subscribers would like to see those comments as well. So if this video was helpful to you, I hope you're subscribed for more board game design videos. And be sure to follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Party Hack Games. That's all for now. Bye!